Hey guys and gals, Froggy here. I'm really excited with what I've got to show you today. I've been having trouble with my clutch pedal not returning back to the up position when I do a high RPM shift. By a high RPM shift I mean, you know, over 5,000 RPMs. If I shift normally at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, or even 4,500, I can do that all day long, all week long, and never have a problem. But when I run a high RPM shift, the clutch pedal would not come back up all the way. It would stick about halfway. This is a common problem with the C5 and C6 Corvettes. I'm trying to find out more about what causes the problem. And no, it's not dirty clutch fluid, because I've got very clean clutch fluid and I've always had clean clutch fluid. So it's not that. Sorry for you folks who think you fixed your problem by changing the clutch fluid. I do recommend that you keep it clean and use the high temperature fluid, but that's not the whole problem. It might be a little part of the problem, but mine is clean and high temp and it's still sticking. So anyway, Lingenfelter has been around for a long time, and they have come up with it's called a clutch return spring kit. And it's pretty much about as simple as what it looks like right there. It's about $80, so it's not cheap, but if it fixes my problem, it's going to be worth it. It's something I actually thought of making myself, but I don't have the machining capabilities and or even to be able to draw that. You know, this piece here is the hard piece. So what the heck? Those guys know how to do it, and they did it, so good for them. I'm going to show you how to put it in. On the left side of the steering wheel, you're going to find a trunk release button. This is for a C5 Corvette. The instructions are slightly different for a C6. So this is your trunk release button. You might also have a fog light button up here. Mine is a Z06. I don't have fog lights. So you pry underneath here, and on the left side there's a clip too. So you just keep gently prying until you get that out, and then I think you disconnect this wire. Hold on, let me check. Yes, to remove this assembly, press in on there, which will release a latch down there. You should be able to do that with just your finger. And then we're going to take this Torx out. There it is, right above the light. There's a T15 Torx. We're going to take that out. On the opposite side of the steering wheel, there's another small panel. There's an air temperature sensor in there. So you're going to take that off. I usually just pry up from underneath. See if I can get that to pop right off. It's just got a couple little clips in there. And then we're going to take that Torx. I think you can see it. We're going to take that Torx out. It's another T15. There are two plastic push clips. One where your left leg goes down in the tunnel here, and then another one where your right leg goes down, and it's right next to the OBD2 port. And it's a real close up there, and there it is right there, and that's the OBD2 is right there. So take one of those little plastic tools for body panels and remove those two clips. There's one more clip right there. It's metal, and it's on a stud. It's not really meant to be removed, but the instructions say to remove it, so I'm going to try and get it off. I'm not going to use my plastic pry bar. I think I've got a metal pry bar that I'll use, a little metal pry tool. Not really a pry bar, but small. Here, let me show you. This is the plastic pry tool that I used for the first two plastic clips. Now I got to get a metal one. Here's a metal pry tool. I would go out and get these tools if I were you before you try to do the job. You might be able to pry those off with screwdrivers, but these really make it a lot easier. Oh, wow, that was tough. I got it. You got to pry this thing one side, other side, one side, other side, like that, kind of around and around in a circle, and just get it to come down the post that it's forced onto. It's like a one-way. It's never meant to come off, really, but you have to pry it off millimeter by millimeter. But anyway, it's off. Now I got to disconnect the light. There's a light in the tunnel here. To get the light out, I would the clear plastic clips, I just pry down on one side until one side pops down, then the other side will come out easily, then just turn it sideways and push it through the hole. Okay? That's about the best way I can tell you to get that out. But always be careful with these plastic pieces. I wouldn't take this black one out. That's the individual wires going in there. That's not really a disconnect. Two more 15 millimeter Torx fasteners right on the bottom of this, the panel that's right underneath the steering wheel. Right underneath the steering wheel. When you get this off, I think there's one more wire to disconnect. Hold on. Now these upper and lower dash panels are sort of intertwined together somehow or another. I haven't quite figured it out yet. But what the instructions I've got say are to pull the upper panel, pry it gently away from the dash area, and then remove the lower panel. Gently pull the front dash panel toward you and remove the lower dash panel from behind it, as shown. Well, let me go off camera here and figure this out a little bit. Okay, here's what I did. On the left side of the lower dash panel, left side of the lower dash panel, there's a clip, right? There's a clip. It goes into a metal on metal clip. So what I did was I pulled that side first, and that really makes the whole thing loosen up. And then I think I'm going to be able to gently pry this, what's called the upper, the panel that goes around the radio and the HVAC and everything. I think I'll be able to sneak it out there, but the directions should have been a little bit better. It should have said to do the left side first, because what I discovered is that makes it much easier. Then this air temperature, this inside air temperature sensor is going to have to be disconnected when I get it out. So be careful. You don't want to damage that while you're taking this panel out. Disconnect the air temp sensor by gently prying under this black part of it. I've got actually the whole thing out, but you can do it while it's stuck in the hole just by reaching in back. You don't have to take it all the way out. I pulled it forward. You can do that, or you can just reach behind it. And right there is what you need to pry up, just a little bit. Okay? Okay, Froggy's back. Here's where we are on this. There's a nut and a bolt that goes to the framework underneath the dash has to be loosened up, because one end of the spring is going to go to the bottom of that bolt. And there's also a wire harness that runs right next to it. The spring is going to go right next to that wire harness, so the wire harness has to be unplugged. It's got one of those little plastic, let me show it to you. There. See, it's got a little plastic keeper right there. A little plastic thing that plugs into a hole on this frame, on the other side of this frame. So you have to pop that out. We're going to relocate that over around this area here with a supplied strap. But first we're going to run the spring from here to the clutch pedal. Okay? So I want you to understand, the Lingenfelter instructions said it's 15 millimeter. On my car, it's a 2004 Z06. It's 13 millimeters. So I don't know if that's a typo or if they changed the size of the nut and the bolt. So be aware of that. I've unplugged this wire bundle, and I'm just going to leave it loose right now, and I'm going to run the spring from here to the clutch pedal. Here's the spring. Now I want to show you the ends of it before I put it in. The Lingenfelter instructions say that one end is longer than the other end, or one end is different than the other end. To me, they look exactly the same. So that may be some change that they made since they first introduced this. I don't know. Look the same to me. I am also going to put some Loctite on this clamp. Well, it's not really a clamp. This piece that goes around the clutch pedal shaft, there's an Allen that you tighten up, and then there's also a lock nut that goes on the Allen, and I'm also going to put some Loctite, some blue Loctite on there, because I do not want any of this coming loose while my left foot is moving real fast on that clutch pedal. So let's see if we can get the one end of the spring attached, or both ends. Alright, there it is. The little clamp thing, it's not really a clamp, but I'll call it a clamp, a fitting, goes right above the tab. The tab is the clutch starter, where it presses up against the clutch starter, disconnect the safety switch for the clutch starter, to make sure you have the clutch pressed all the way down before you can turn the key and start the car. Anyway, it goes right above that. You can see it right there, very clear. See it? The other end goes to that 13 millimeter bolt, or maybe it's a 15 on your car, I don't know. The wire bundle, I haven't strapped it up yet, but you can see I'm going to strap it out of the way of the spring. It looks like the spring will be out of the way of my big 11.5 foot when I press down on it. What I don't like a bit is that there's an off-center pulling on that pedal, and the pedal has some bearings, sleeves or bearings, and it's gonna, in my opinion, it's gonna provide a little extra wear off to one side of that bearing. And the reason I mention that is because I just got through on my 1995 BMW M3 replacing all those little sleeves and bearings and bushings and stuff on the clutch pedal on that car. And on that car, the 95 M3, even though it was a straight push to with the clutch pedal, there was still some wear that goes on up there. So now we're putting some sideways pull on the clutch pedal, but it could take 50,000 miles before it makes a difference, so I don't know. Anyway, take a good look at that. I didn't tighten that nut and bolt up yet. I'll give you one more look at it, but that's how it's supposed to go, okay? On that wire bundle, I put 2 tie wraps there, plastic tie wraps. There happened to be a hole on the bottom of this brace that wasn't being used for anything, so I took that little plastic locator and shoved it in the hole and then tie wrapped it out of the way. So I've got plenty of clearance to the spring. They'll never touch each other. And then I used the Loctite on the pedal end, and I'm shining it on there right now. And that's about it, except for putting it back together. And I will also come back and give you my impressions of how it drives that way and whether it fixes having my clutch pedal get stuck down or not. I'm not going to give you step-by-step on how to put everything back together. If you've got this far, I think you can figure it out. So for now, Froggy's out. Give me a thumbs up if it's helped you out, and subscribe to my channel if you want some more. Froggy out. Bye-bye. Okay, here's what you got. I've got a little place in near where I live that I can do, about an eighth or a little more than an eighth of a mile, sort of a drag race, safely, with no traffic. Don't ask me how I do it, but there's a way that I do it. So I took about 4 or 5 passes, shifting at 55, 5700 RPMs without too much of a lag in between, sort of like hot lapping, maybe 2 or 3 minutes in between. And there was no clutch pedal sticking at all. Zero, nothing. So I gave it a pretty good test, and I think it's fixed. I don't think there's any issue. Whatever it is that hangs up on there when you put a spring on the clutch pedal, it no longer hangs up. It returns okay. However, space, the clutch pedal effort is quite a bit heavier, and I'm going to try and measure it for you. Unfortunately, I didn't measure it before, so I can't give you a before and after. I didn't think of it, sorry. But I can give you the after. And what I've got rigged up here, this is a digital scale. It's a digital scale like the kind you use to measure luggage when you're going on a jet and you have a restriction. It's down to 1/10 of a pound, so it's pretty good scale. I use it all the time to measure my parts that I put on the car, whatever. So let's set it to pounds instead of, okay, whoop. I'm setting it to pounds, and it kind of zeroes itself out. Give or take a few tenths. But I'm gonna, the clutch pedal has like a take-up section that's lighter, and then a heavier section as your foot gets into it. So I'm gonna measure 2 things. First is this take-up. That's right there. I'm pushing with my hand now. Take up, and then all the way like that. And I still do have the stock spring in here. I didn't take the stock spring out. Lingenfelter doesn't say anything about taking the stock spring out. I know some guys do take it out, but I never did. And so I'm gonna give you the readings right now. I don't know if I can put the camera down and get readings or not. It's gonna be hard. Well, maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it running. I'm going to reset my... Alright, I hit reset. Set to pounds. Okay, it beeps when it's done. So here's the first part. There. This is the take-up part. And I got 23 pounds. Now I'm going to reset again. Whoops. I'm sorry about this camera work, but I need an assistant. Now I'm going to go all the way, not all the way down to the floor, but as if I was going all the way down to the floor. Here we go. And that is, oh shoot, it didn't record. Let me try it again. All the way down. Baby. 34 pounds. Okay, let me do one more on the all the way down. Resetting. Alright, there it is. Alright, that's 35 pounds. Now, keep one thing in mind. I didn't go all the way to the firewall, so it's going to be a little more than that when you have a full stroke of your clutch pedal. You follow me? But those are the two measures that I have. So it definitely increases your pedal pressure over stock. I'm going to say at least, I'm guessing what my stock pressure was, but 50% greater pedal pressure, and it might be more than 50% greater pedal pressure, but I'm just going to call it 50%. If one of you guys wants to do what I did and measure up the stock pedal pressure, just use a little digital luggage gauge like I did. It would be very interesting to compare. I guess I could try disconnecting the spring, but I'm not going to. I'm pretty happy with how the clutch pedal is coming back up, and so I would say this is a good kit, a good piece of equipment. So that's it on this one for Froggy. If it helps you out, give me a thumbs up. If you want more, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to leave it in my car. Froggy out. See you later.